Hello everybody, my name is Trenton, and today I'm going to be making some friends because we're going to be talking about railroad spikes. So here's the deal, guys. This is somewhat frustrating for us as professionals because a lot of us have spent 20 years or better doing this type of work, doing knife work and everything else. And yet when we go into a forum, these questions are asked over and over again. So the first problem is, and I want to be clear about this, if you are new to blacksmithing or looking to get into blacksmithing and you don't go buy a book to educate yourself before you start posting questions on a forum, you're an idiot. You're a dummy. That's just it. If you go into a forum and expect to put up a question and get 40 different answers, none of them matching, and expect to learn anything, you're going to suck as a blacksmith before you've ever started. Buy a book. Educate yourself before you go into class to have your questions answered. Second point that I'm going to make. If you're in the class and somebody asks a question and you don't know the answer, shut the hell up. Don't put an answer out there. If you don't know, don't say. If you have forged two things in your front yard brake rotor pot, don't say. There's a good chance there's somebody in the group that knows a lot more than you do, and if you can just be quiet for a little while, you will learn something. I know I sound frustrated because I am frustrated. After the 25 years that I've been doing this crap, I've had people that literally haven't built their first forge argue with me on forging techniques. It's maddening. I want to be respectful. I don't want to call anybody names. The problem is the idiot meter is getting so high I can do nothing else but point and say, you know, that's an idiot. Don't be an idiot. So, and it's amazing how many times the word idiot and railroad spike knife come up together. So, little bit of metallurgy for you. And there's a problem here, and this is one of overlap, because when you're getting into the craft, you're going to be listening to knife makers, and you're going to hear the catchphrase, high carbon steel. The problem is then you're going to talk about railroad spike knives, and you're going to see HC, and it's going to say high carbon steel. Well, the problem is that they're the same term in two completely different disciplines. So if you have a knife, high carbon steel has a very specific connotation. It's usually referring to steels that have from 75 to about 110 points of carbon. If you don't understand what a point of carbon is, go buy a book and educate yourself. This is a measure of carbon in a steel, and it has an extreme effect on if a steel is suitable to be a good knife or not. Okay? However, in railroad spike terms, high carbon, the top end of the bunch, may have 40 to 45 points of carbon at best. That's only the HCs. It's all down from there. So at best, the steel in this piece may be suitable for a hammer or striking instrument. Maybe, okay? Again, because there's variation, but there's none of these spikes that ever reaches over 45 points of carbon. And the question becomes, is that enough carbon to be a good knife? And I specifically say a good knife. And the answer is no. You can ask the question as many times as you want, and the answer is still going to be no. Now, can you make a knife like this out of a high carbon spike? Yes. Can you sell this and make money? Yes. But if you represent this being a good knife to a customer, you are in fact a liar. You are either ignorant or you are outright conning somebody. Okay? Now, this knife can be sharpened. Now, I can probably sharpen this bad boy up to where it will cut paper, but it's going to cut one pork chop and it's going to be dull. The steel that this is made out of was never intended for being a cutting tool. Period. Was not designed for that. In fact, there's extra alloying elements in here that really don't make it conducive to being a good knife. It's got extra stuff because it was designed to hold track into place, not to cut things. So it's a particular material not suited for the job of making a knife. Again, let me stress, I make hundreds of these every year. I sell these and make a lot of money on these. These are a novelty item, period. I once had a gentleman told me that he made a railroad spike knife in his dirt forge and that he could clean 3 deer with it without ever having touched the edge. That man was a liar, period. Did not happen. Either his deer were about that big okay? Or he was high on drugs, or both, okay? The steel in this material is not good for a knife. Can you start off and make one of these and it's cool and everybody's gonna look at your thing and say, man, that is so super cool? Absolutely. In fact, I encourage you to. These are readily available and it's almost a rite of passage for a knife maker to make one of these bad boys. So please make them, but they're not a good knife and you're not gonna find any professional knife maker that's gonna say otherwise. Now, certainly there's going to be one or two jackasses that are going to say, well, if you carburize it and if you add this powder under the light of the moon of the Jupiter's anus, then it becomes a hard steel. As is, if you take this material and make it into a knife, it will not be satisfactory as a good knife. Can you stab somebody in the neck with it? Yeah. Can you saw through a pork chop? Yes. But is it a good quality knife that is expected from a proper knife maker? And the answer is no. That is the answer. It's not going to change. Until they start making carbon spikes with 90 points of carbon, it's not going to change. It was that way 10 years ago, it's that way 5 years ago, and it's going to be that way a long time in the future. There you go, making friends on the internet. You guys be good.